SCP-1425.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-1425. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. A single copy of SCP-1425 is to be kept in a double-locked archive in Storage Site 40. Access to the document is to be completely restricted, barring express written permission of at least 2 of the following officials: the Site Director, the EID Chief.
That was weird. I set my arm on my desk, and I was like, the whole thing, oh, I know what it is. This TV moved. I got a TV right here. And I probably should have angled it better, because when I sat my arm with it, the weight must have shifted, because it felt like, I almost felt like the time I was in that earthquake. But anyway, that's something else. Anyway.
The CMA head or O5 personnel. A second copy is contained in an undisclosed location under procedures divulged only to O5 Council members. All forms of printed and televised media available throughout the United States are to be monitored for the appearance of key words and key symbols from the list provided in CMA Document 1425A. Any located additional copies of SCP-1425 are to be turned over to CMA custody for destruction. In the event that a second SCP-1425 event begins to manifest, contact an official listed above immediately to initiate Protocol Ophiuchus. Description: SCP-1425 is a hardcover book measuring 20 by 35 by 5 centimeters and published in 2005 by the company Books. Now defunct. See Operation Stargazer files. The front cover bears the title Star Signals. The back cover has the following description. Did you know that some stars in the sky are dead, but we still see their ancient image? With the best-selling novel Star Signals, sold in 4 countries and translated into hundreds of languages, you too can tune into the celestial frequencies and then become like the stars. When a subject reads the full text of SCP-1425, the book exerts a mild reality warping effect influenced by the subject's desires, which in turn are influenced by SCP-1425. See below. When a sufficiently large number of subjects are exposed to this effect, further complications arise in terms of mental health and the integrity of space-time. See Event Log 1425-05. The document is a non-fiction book of the self-help genre, advertised as a manual which teaches the use of the 5-step star signal method to achieve the reader's dreams and ambitions. The method itself is a program of visualization.
Some of these things, they be like, it's safe because it's contained. I don't care if it's contained. It's shit that does stuff like this. It fucks with people mentally, and it then also develops physically. This shit's never, it can always go awry. Yeah, it's contained, but it's not safe. I be like, the threat level for this thing is fucking, I don't know what, Euclid or so. Yes, it's contained. It just say contained. Don't say safe. It's not safe, because then some be safe, and then the next minute, security breach happens, and it's not so safe, is it? Like, especially shit that fucks with people's minds.
Reinforced through mantras and positive affirmations. Unlike nearly all books of the self-help genre, SCP-1425 is directly efficacious in assisting the subject in achieving personal goals. The book has no content regarding practical measures to achieve goals. Instead, it speaks entirely on the star focuses and other wishful thinking rituals. These exercises, when conducted properly, demonstrably influence reality, beginning with a direct influence on the appearance of the star used in the exercise. A reader who expresses a wish to win the lottery will receive a winning ticket within the next week. Any reader whose goal is a new car will find themselves driving it the next week. The amount of work invested into achieving the goal outside of performing the prescribed rituals has only a supplementary effect. A subject who makes no special effort to pursue the focused desire still succeeds at a rate documented at roughly 80%. However, if the instructions for reading order and frequency are not followed correctly, the anomalous effect is either greatly diminished or falls entirely. In early chapters, these exercises are focused on two things: the exact goals that the reader has in mind and the concentration on certain stars in the sky. This activity is connected to the titular star signals. SCP-1425 claims that the light emitted by stars carries a phenomenological frequency, which is connected to each star and which is connected to the phenomenological frequency of each human's mind. Each of the book's 10 chapters ends with a star focus ritual. This is a meditation performed each night, with the central focus being a celestial body. The celestial body used is determined by a calendar given in the prologue. This ensures that all readers at any given time are focusing on the same place, no matter which section of the book they are reading. The 10th chapter is an exception. See document 1425-A. Throughout its pages, SCP-1425 contains verbal devices intended to influence the mind of the reader during exercises. These include the combination of mimetic triggers and neuro-linguistic programming to make the subject receptive to the ideas presented in the text and to optimize the results of its anomalous effect. Once the core ideas of the book have been introduced and worked upon, visualization exercises begin to include concentration on other concepts, including political and philosophical messages. The latter chapters of the book serve to alter the thoughts and desires of the user to conform to a standard that would remain consistent across readers of the text. Approximately 60% of readers who have read the entirety of SCP-1425 exhibit a mental condition called OhMyItsEli syndrome. See event log SCP-1425-2005. SCP-1425 is believed to have been written and published by operatives of the Fifth Church, an influential cult whose membership consists largely of celebrities, including actors, musicians, authors, television hosts, and other personalities. At that time, the list of confirmed Fifthists numbered, with the list of suspected cultists counting in excess of. These connections were utilized by the Fifthist Fellowship in the form of celebrity endorsements and widespread media coverage used to make SCP-1425 quickly and exceptionally popular. Due to these measures, as well as substantial word-of-mouth advertising, Star Signals became a national bestseller within 2 weeks of publication, and held this position until the book was virtually purged from public knowledge by the SCP Foundation, using Protocol Ophiuchus. Document 1425-A. SCP-1425 excerpts. The following passages are taken directly from the text of SCP-1425. These excerpts have been selected to minimize exposure to cognitohazardous mimetic triggers and other textual anomalies. Chapter 2, Section 3. The Hole You Exist Around.
Do you feel a void in your life?
Everyone
does, whether they know it or not. Think about it. You can feel it inside you right now. A heavy emptiness in the middle of your chest. It's a reflection of the one in your existence, like particles in quantum entanglement.
That might just be the alcohol.
Do you remember how we talked about quantum entanglement? Not yet. Yes, you do. Yes, you feel the emptiness. This is good. It's a blank slot waiting for you to fill it up with your deepest desire, until your deepest desire is pushing up into your throat. You will gag on your need, and until you do, it is a resonation space for you to build your will like organ music in a cathedral. Hear the music now. This is not a metaphor. If your will is strong enough, there will be music now. Remember now that nothing in this book is a metaphor.
It's all
Chapter
facts.
3, Taking Effects. Section 5, You Are in Time.
Star focus. Find your night spot and begin to focus on your star. Prologue Section 3, Star Focus Calendar, April. Epsilon Sagittarii. If you can't find it in your star chart, it's the base of the hunter's bow and the brightest star in the constellation. As you stare up into it, Use your mind-clearing word. Your meditation is... Now is your time. Here is our space. We take your star. We hold your bonds. Repay your debt. Don't worry about memorization. Anytime you use your mind-clearing word, you'll remember them, even if you only read them once. If you do it right, your star will disappear. You'll feel it resonating with the others in your void.
Chapter 5, End of Act 1, Section 4, 2 days.
If you have read this book correctly, and you have, tomorrow is the start of the weekend. Savor it. The 5-day work week is an artifact of your world. You'll find out all about that on Monday. During the next 2 days, put this book down. Don't pick it up. Yes, this means 2 days without your star exercises. Yes, this means that for 2 days, your will is not going to be with you. Don't even think about it after the end of this sentence. Your will is being used for your good.
Chapter 6, The Fifth World, Section 2, The Fifth Reason.
In your current society, you are encouraged to be yourself, as if this is the key to making your desires real. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You can't be anyone other than yourself. If you were someone else, you would still be you, and you would be someone who is someone else. There is no getting out from under existence. Because you can't be anyone else, it stands to reason that if you want to change in your reality, it is the world that must change to suit you. You must mold your phenomenological landscape into one where all your goals are achieved. Now, imagine that place where your desires are made real has a name. It is called the Fifth World. The Fifth World is the cosmos twisted around you into the shape you will wish for. It has never been, but you can make it so. If the current world is like a tight collared suit, then the Fifth World is like a flowing robe that allows complete freedom of movement. You will never truly move before you move in the Fifth World. You'll feel like a square on a piece of paper who's only just to lowl about up and down.
Chapter 9, Do Not Look Away from the Book, Section 3, Here and Now.
Some helpful advice that will save you in your coming weeks. Mirrors are for other people. Sit in a dark room by yourself for at least an hour per day. Move around as much as you're made to. If you feel yourself developing a soul, go outside immediately and follow the direction of the smoke until you meet them. Always listen for the sound of Slon of Turwal, Pala Milgandey. Love the Archons. When you hate them, they see you.
Chapter 10, You Cannot Wake Up, Section 1.
I just off topic, but when I was younger, I had a horrible fear of thunderstorms and the dark. Like, it was, I couldn't be in a room that didn't have any type of light in it. It was a dim room, that's fine, but if it was just pitch black, I couldn't be in it. I got over it by sitting in a room anytime there was a thunderstorm, because where we lived at the time, a lot of times when there was a thunderstorm, the power would go out almost every single time. Why? I don't know. But anyway, I would sit in a room. It was my parents' room. And it wouldn't be pitch black. I guess it kind of was, but the lightning would, flashlights inside. And I would sit in that room to get over this fear. I sat in that room in the dark whenever there was a thunderstorm. I also did it when there wasn't a thunderstorm. I would just sit in the dark and just to get over that fear. And I did. I even do that now. Like, I just sit. I just cut off all the lights and I'm in this room and then just sit in pitch blackness. Like, because I did it so much. Well, I did it for quite a bit, for, I don't know, like a year or two, to really fully get over it. I was like, I'm over it, but I need to make sure. So I get that, and this still this. Okay, you getting some Jedi shit.
Remaining sample expunged.
Event log 1425-05. Level 2 clearance or higher only. The following events occurred between the publication date of SCP-1425, April 2nd, 2005, and the official end date of Event 1425, May 11th, 2005. Day 1, Monday, 4/22. The second print run of SCP-1425 is completed simultaneously at 3 locations. The publishing house main printing facility, then located in Texas, a smaller facility located in Maine, and a third branch in England. The first 2 factories ship SCP-1425 to bookstores across America. The third is distributed throughout the British Isles. The first print run was according to recovered documentation, a private distribution amongst members of the Fifth Church, to be passed to friends and family. Day 8, Monday, 4/29. Television host Daytime Talk Show airs its monthly Reading Circle special. The entirety of the episode is devoted to the promotion of SCP-1425. The host claims that star signals rocked her world, and that you'll see and feel the changes almost instantly. At the 31-minute mark, her guest, Hugh Laurie, jokes that the book's advice may be responsible for the host's success. He adds, "I hope nobody hates you." The host looks at a copy of SCP-1425 in her hands for 4 seconds before remarking, "It's finding the holes." This line is muted in its entirety in the West Coast feed, but appears uncensored in the live airing, stirring much controversy on the subject of obscenity in television. Sales of SCP-1425 grow to over 50 times their current rate over the coming week. Day 12, Friday, 5/3. Reports of mental illnesses begin to increase in the southwestern United States. In Ojai, California, the Boyar family, a 45-year-old father, 50-year-old mother, and 24-year-old daughter, are admitted to an Ojai mental institution following what appears to be 3 simultaneous episodes of glossolalia and violent and delusional behavior. The trio is located in a street several miles from their home, conversing loudly to each other about their surroundings. Witnesses report overhearing the remarks, "I love how the buildings don't line up anymore, and once I get conversant, I'll fix your tongues if I have to." When a bystander approaches the Boyars, the mother remarks that it's not supposed to be out, and the father begins to assault the bystander with a pocket knife. Local law enforcement is notified, and when officers arrive, the 24-year-old is, as a witness reports, shouting nonsense, speculated to be similar to the text of Chapter 10 of SCP-1425 to the bystander, who is being held down by the father and mother. The bystander is being made to repeat these utterances. When the bystander makes an error in punctuation, the father carves into 4 long existing cuts made on the bystander's face, forming a square. The 3 are arrested, and the bystander is admitted to a local hospital for bruises and severe lacerations. Day 13, Saturday, 5/4. Foundation agents investigate the case of the Boyars and determine a possible link between their outbursts and the book titled Star Signals. The Boyars' copy is confiscated for examination, as well as a new copy from a local bookstore. Researchers note that although Star Signals has been available on the market for nearly 2 weeks, no critical reviews or other analytical reports have been published in newspapers nor on television, and roughly 80% of online reviews have been deleted by the website's owners. This is later determined to be an intentional action on the part of the Fifth Church. Part of SCP-1425's mind-altering effect is a reluctance to openly discuss the actual text of the publication, even in celebrity endorsements. Day 14, Sunday, 5/5. Foundation
Sound
researchers studying star
of
signals
Avatar
confirm the connection with the recent upswing in mental hospital
reviews
attendance
and
and arrests for irrational behavior.
Or
Most of
paying
those
people
affected
to
by the
put positive
syndrome are
reviews on it.
non-violent, but all identified cases contain the common threads of peculiarly delusional statements and speaking in an indecipherable, consonant-heavy language. Following in-depth analysis, star signals is classified as an anomalous cognitohazard and designated SCP-1425. Researchers alert the site director as, due to the SCP designation of the text star signals, the Foundation is experiencing a massive containment breach. Foundation agents determine that, based on the air date of the Reading Circle episode of the television show, SCP-1425's strict instructions on how it is to be read, beginning on Monday and continuing for 1 chapter per day, each weekday for 2 weeks, and the manifestation of the anomalous effect when the subject completes the full text of SCP-1425, the spike in symptoms predicted by researchers will be experienced on day 19, Friday, May 10th, when readers who purchased the book on the same day as the episode aired will have completed the program. Day 15, Monday, 5/6. Foundation researchers in Storage Site 40 and Foundation agents at O5 headquarters, in conjunction with Foundation subdivisions, the CMA, Communication Moderation Agency, and EID, lay out a process for retrieving, containing, and destroying as many instances of SCP-1425 as possible. This plan is designated Protocol Ophiuchus. Steps taken immediately upon implementation include: the publishing company is determined to be a front for the Fifth Church and is seized. Mobile Task Force Theta 11, Wranglers, Mobile Task Force Gamma 4, Moneylenders, and Mobile Task Force Lambda 21, Cave Dwellers, are sent to Texas, Maine, and England printing facilities respectively. All mobile task forces are met with armed resistance and engage with no friendly casualties. Publication of SCP-1421 is ended. The publisher's headquarters in California is commandeered by Mobile Task Force Phi 1, Hostile Takeover. An international recall is issued. Through the use of EID intelligence, Foundation agents circumvent the star signals media blackout. The press release claims that the 11th chapter has been omitted and that the 10th chapter has been severely misprinted. Consumers are given an incentive of a $25 voucher for returning a copy of Star Signals. Bookstores in America and England pull their stock of SCP-1425 for recall. The CMA monitors all national broadcasts, especially network television, for anomalies related to SCP-1425. Any such anomalies are to be removed from broadcast through one of several classified means. Further action redacted. Additionally, the first broadcast to be intercepted through the use of Protocol Ophiuchus is during the daytime talk show, which features further promotion of SCP-1425. Television host conducts an interview with musician Beck. At the 18-minute mark, the following incident occurs.
I hear you're very spiritual. Does it influence your work?
Yeah, it has to be. It's an influence on everything. No matter what I'm doing, I try to keep grounded. That's emphasis on try to. There's a reason why it's called practicing spirituality. You can never get good at...
Interrupting off screen.
Can I just say something?
The camera angle changes to a close-up of his face. The host is staring directly at the viewer.
You have to keep calm. Take a good, deep breath. Remember what the man said. Stars may die in 3s, but worlds die in 5s, like insects injected with maggots.
Turning back to their guest.
What were we talking about?
I don't actually remember. You were talking about
They
celebrities.
live type
Yes,
shit.
I wanted to ask, died recently.
Audience size, sadly.
How's it affected you?
Why don't I just say, I think we'll stay together?
Audience, cheers.
The network is contacted by the Foundation and releases a public statement that is suffering from exhaustion and will not be taping episodes in the following week. He is unable to be located for detainment. Day 16, Tuesday, 5/7. Since day 12, several dozen instances of behavior similar to that of the Boyar family have been publicly reported. The mental illness is dubbed OhMyItsEli syndrome in television, online, and newspaper reports, and is to the general public entirely unexplained. Foundation testing on subjects with the disorder has demonstrated that a moderate dosage of Class B amnestics is effective in treating OhMyItsEli syndrome. Broadcast intercepted by Protocol Ophiuchus. 24-hour news network, an interview between pundit parliament members began to cover events which have never actually occurred. The MP, for example, considers the consequences of a revolution in India in 1921, which he describes as shorter than the Boston Massacre and 10 times as bloody. Audio recording follows.
You know, there are some people out there who believe that if we wish something didn't happen hard enough, it didn't really happen. And they're right, you know. Well, it's about quantity, isn't it? They don't have to wish very hard, but there have to be a lot of the suckers. It works both ways, you know. I find my own assistants unable to tell me whether Gandhi ever committed public suicide. They honestly can't remember. And this isn't a matter of poor education. In university, they were completely aware of what had happened at the time. Ask them about the machine elves sometime. See how many they can name. At this point, goodness no, they couldn't name a devil that killed their parents. Hey, why hasn't your prime minister been eaten yet? Give it a week. Hell, give it until Friday. Always great to see you. Come back on if you can be outside next week.
Okay, I feel like this gotta be making
Thanks, I'll take you up on that. Anyway, let's get back to...
The interviewer's co-host is visibly uncomfortable.
Are we still on?
Day 17, Wednesday, 5/8. The recall is a moderate success. Approximately 200,000 instances of SCP-1425 are confiscated and destroyed by incineration. An additional claim is released to the press indicating that copies of star signals may have been contaminated with ricin due to an attack by domestic terrorists. Various subjects who are afflicted with OhMyItsEli syndrome are gathered by the Foundation and administered a series of doses of Class B amnestics. They are returned to their mental faculties with a sharp decline in symptoms. The Foundation is granted emergency position by the CDC and the NHS to treat OhMyItsEli syndrome sufferers. Following a partially fabricated presentation in which the illness is presented as a condition caused by a parasitic organism. Several international cases are reported, but these are highly sparse and too difficult to track. Broadcast intercepted by Protocol Ophiuchus. North Carolina public access children's program Pepe's Backyard. The host, a man in rabbit makeup referred to as Pepe, is speaking to several children sitting on the set in a semicircle.
All right, kids. I think you'll be surprised by our next guest. He's a clown that teaches as well as he learns, and dishes it out as well as he takes it, because nobody hates...
Off-screen.
We don't have any guests today, Pepe.
Then what are we doing?
This episode is about being creative.
Really? Sorry, I got distracted, I guess. Kids, pay close attention. I'll teach you how to make candles out of whoever you find lying around.
Inaudible.
Whoever.
Of what? No, stop being such a square.
Cut.
Day 18, Thursday, 5/9. The rate at which instances of SCP-1425 are confiscated begins to slow. Most remaining readers are under the influence of SCP-1425 suggestion and have no intention of relinquishing their copy of the text. In metropolitan areas across coastal America and major cities in Britain, as well as towns in the southern United States near Foundation facilities and known to be areas where the sect known as Southern Fifthist has taken root, agents travel from door to door in hazardous material suits using the cover story that copies of star signals have been contaminated by ricin powder. a small percentage of occupied houses contained subjects moderately affected by SCP-1425 who resisted agents, who resorted to physical coercion in confiscating SCP-1425. During the personal intervention operations of days 18 and 19, 9 subjects under the effects of SCP-1425 are terminated in America due to their impeding the continued execution of Protocol Ophiuchus, and only 4 such incidents occur in England. In Britain, where the Fifth Church's influence seems to be much weaker, SCP-1425 is believed to be almost entirely eradicated.
Of course.
In an incident quickly concealed by the United States government, 3 senators attempted to report President George W. Bush to the FBI. In the official report, the legislative officials claim that President Bush is impostoring because he was executed months ago. The senators go on to suggest a live execution on broadcast television, which will definitely take. They unanimously insist that it be hosted by comedian Dana Carvey, who could have his fingers force-fed to him as an opening sketch. Broadcast intercepted by Protocol Ophiuchus. The May 9th episode of popular talent show American Idol is removed from air in its entirety. After approximately 10 minutes of advertisements and preliminary introduction, the host, Ryan Seacrest, stops when introducing the first contestant. Audio recording follows.
Now let's get down to business. You probably remember our first singer from last week when he made his version of Paula.
Referring to Judge Paula Abdul.
Are you crying?
The judge's hand is over her face and her voice is shaking.
I just feel kinda sick.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paula's had a long week.
Audience laughs.
You think it might be happening?
I think you need to go. Go on with the show.
Simon Cowell, another talent judge on the program, is sitting to Paula's left.
No, we want to hear about this.
I think it's coming up.
I just want to let everyone know, right now, Paula can't see us. Her vision is obscured by a world that's being slaughtered, like a cat. Fresh cavities open in the earth like sucking maws because it doesn't want to wait for the flesh to cool. Their teeth melt as they're cremated alive.
The host looks toward the camera.
Come on, Jim. Focus in on her pain. We might need it for later.
Several members of the audience laugh. Paula Abdul sits up as her neck wrenches back, as if by spasm. Her mouth opens wide and a thick, black smoke begins to spew forth.
And there you
That's
go,
a demon coming
Randy.
out.
Referring to the third panelist on the far left, Randy Jackson.
Take a deep breath. You might be able to join her in hell. I'll do that shit in my own home. Ryan, just take off the mask. We aren't even on the air right now. This?
The host tugs at his cheek with his left hand.
This is real. They'll have to rip it off me. You're alive with the words, right? I'm alive with the words.
This is followed by 2 minutes of silence from the host, judges, and audience. After that, Seacrest, Cowell, and Jackson imitate Paula, emitting smoke upward from their mouths into the studio. At no point does the audience audibly react. This continues until the end of the episode, with the camera angle focused on the judges, occasionally interspersed with a close-up of an audience member frozen in shock or weeping silently.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Day 19, Friday, 5/10. As efforts made to enforce the Protocol Ophiuchus reach in their peak, behavior consistent with descriptions of OhI syndrome reaches its zenith. Foundation patrols find OhI syndrome sufferers in the streets, claiming to be following smoke, as outlined in the text. See document 1425A. The event is presented to the news as the result of a foodborne parasite, and individuals are instructed to report to local hospitals where the Foundation provides amnestic therapy. A total of 400 individuals in the US and 300 individuals in Britain are located and treated with Class B amnestics. Note, this indicates that efforts prior to 5/10/05 in Britain were much less sufficient than previously thought. Further inquiry is recommended. Broadcast intercepted by Protocol Ophiuchus. On the daytime talk show, hosts an episode alone. The studio is dark and apparently contains no audience. The host carries a lit candle for illumination. 2 cameras are used, though it is unknown how they are being operated. One is set up to capture and the seat across from her, one is directly in front of her.
Greets the audience, her face lit from below. Her face is flushed and bears smeared makeup, indicating recent crying. She explains in a flat voice that the lights in the studio have been shut off, an act which she finds preferable, as she does not want to see what's in here. She conducts an interview which she claims is with comedian Dave Chappelle. However, he is never seen, nor is the chair he is claimed to be seated in, and no response to her questions is audible. She reacts as if hearing responses, however, sometimes breaking into laughter or wiping tears from her eyes. Subjects range from the mundane, the latest season of the sketch comedy series Chappelle's Show, to more anomalous topics such as astronomical events related to the text of SCP-1425, including. At the 20-minute mark, he is speaking directly into the camera when she is interrupted by a black-gloved hand grabbing her mouth from behind. A muffled scream is heard from the host as she is pulled backwards from her seat, and the candle's light is snuffed below the frame. Foundation agents who were deployed to the studio arrive, presuming that statement that their show was airing live were accurate 6 minutes after this event. The studio is completely empty, with no sign of recent activity.
Shit.
Day 20, Saturday, 5/11, and onward. Fewer than copies of SCP-1425 are believed to be extant in society, not counting any which remain directly in the hands of the Fifth Church. Over the next week, a further 200 sufferers of OhMyItsEli syndrome are cured and released, and 24 celebrities offer apologies for erratic behavior displayed during the SCP-1425 event. Note that all personalities involved in television incidents claim to have no memory of the events, including any crew and audience members present. Continued monitoring of subjects treated for OhMyItsEli syndrome indicates no apparent long-term effects. Protocol Ophiuchus enters its final stage. The first part involves continuous international surveillance for SCP-1425 related incidents, and since then, only one broadcast has been interrupted due to the protocol. A British celebrity news program which aired footage of Prince Harry, consistent with the 510 broadcast. The second part consists of the systematic elimination of all records of star signals, OhMyItsEli syndrome, and any related incidents from public record and public history. All film and print records of SCP-1425 related events have been eradicated. Unclassed amnestic program 1425 LETHE measures to neutralize the Fifth Church as a threat to the goals of the Foundation are put into the planning phase in a mission which would later be designated as Operation Stargazer. See Stargazer documentation. Addendum 1425-A. Level 3 clearance or higher only.
If you're learning of Event 1425 for the first time, the details reported here may come as a surprise. It's a hard notion to swallow, even for a Foundation researcher, that we could cut 3 weeks of Western culture from memory and history. That doubt is justified. The party line is that the SCP Foundation is all capable and all prepared, but if you're reading this, you've earned a little candor. The incontrovertible fact of Event 1425 is that we got lucky. Circumstances won the day for a number of reasons. Those reasons are not listed in the event log. Not all the missions leave helpful little notes behind. 1. The situation was much more worse than we realized. In case you haven't been here long enough to learn to read between the lines, this wasn't just a containment breach. One reality-warping, memetically active fantasy book outside of custody is a containment breach. 1 million such objects in uncontained circulation, well, the official term is impending CK-class reality restructuring event. And they would have gotten away with it too.
That sounds
as I'm about to explain. 2. The cleanup in England was a fiasco. The eradication of SCP-1425 from Great Britain failed substantially, and we didn't realize until it was nearly too late. On Sunday, a day after the officially marked end date of the event, there was an existential shift during the Royal Parade. when thousands of loyal subjects were together on the streets. From 11 to 11:45 a.m., London looked to anyone paying attention, like it had been dismembered and sewn back together with a Glasgow smile, and things wriggling under the skin. Even I will not describe what they did to the Queen. Nobody remembers it, of course, and the only camera that captured it was an old Betamax camcorder.
They do to the Queen.
Yes, we have the tape. It's a taste of what would have happened if we had not acted quickly or effectively, or if we hadn't been assisted. 3, we had help. We had a lot of it. For one, the Fifth Church was covering up its own actions for us, especially once its focus shifted from remaking the world to damage control and PR integrity. We don't know how they managed to keep basically everyone from discussing the actual contents of SCP-1425, chalk it up to mind control, nor how they kept the memories out of the heads of any eyewitnesses, including studio audiences. Chalk it up to reality bending, I suppose. But their secrecy did half our work for us.
Nonchalant.
I should add that covers a lot of messy business. Most of it was taken out in case the Fifth Church got their hands on the information, but I'm getting ahead of myself. One such point is the full cooperation of the FCC and Ofcom in allowing us to kill broadcasts whenever we required. The favor we did to make them owe us like that is beyond even my clearance. 4, it wasn't enough. Protocol Ophiuchus, spookiest of all spook shows, was a massive expenditure of resources which did a lot of good, but it wasn't a complete success. Our expert procedures for voiding star signals in the public consciousness, primary among them being the expectation that the cover story would be swallowed and society's attention would move on, left certain gaps behind, to say the least. Another point in the protocol was a certain SCP object, which was to be used only if absolutely necessary, and we used it. We're still dealing with the consequences of activating Project Lathe, but I do not regret the decision. Sometimes you have to cut deeper into a wound to clean the infection. 5. The EID's lucky number, apparently.
To make an
we were
omelet,
betrayed. The investigation carried out in the England side uncovered the reason that Ophiuchus was less effective there. Fifthist infiltration. Another secret of the Church. Leaking acolytes under our radar for a year,
I thought they
maybe longer. Needless to say, we purged the English sites of any moles so quickly that it'd make your head spin. That is, unless you're a Southern Fifthist, and it does that already. I'll leave you with a warning. Command's stance on the topic is that the sleepers have been eradicated, but it is my belief that the operation was not local. If, at any point, you detect a whiff of bullshit, or smoke for that matter, tell your director. Hell, tell me. And if you're a Fifthist yourself, and you're reading this, I can only congratulate you on your success. But I should ask, does the phrase, a star, mean anything to you? It does to me. Make sure to ask your deacon. J. Erlenmeyer, Director, EID, Liverpool, 8/15/2006.
This concludes today's lecture. Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you're all dismissed. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Now we're going to get the explanation.
Welcome to another episode of Extra Credit. Today's episode is written by Reddit user Rock D House. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today I'll be providing an explanation of SCP-1425, also known as the book Star Signals. This is an extremely important SCP on the site. Besides the 500+ rating, it also introduced the Fifth Church, a major group of interest and the third major anomalous religion. It has spawned countless SCPs and tales, and so much as I'll be explaining it, I'll be explaining the religion that it founded. Here we go. The containment procedures are relatively straightforward. Taking into account the safe classification, it's shown that this book will just sit there and do nothing if I left it alone. However, the one oddity is the excessive security when it comes to accessing it. Access to the document is to be completely restricted barring express written permission of at least 2 of the following officials: the site director, the EID chief, the CMA head, or O5 personnel. To get this document, you have to get permission from 2 highly ranked individuals of the Foundation. Whatever information is contained in it is very dangerous. Did you know that some stars in the sky are dead, but we still see their ancient image? With the best-selling novel Star Signals, sold in 4 countries and translated into hundreds of languages, you too can tune into the celestial frequencies and then become like the stars. This book appears to be based on the kind of New Age, hippie, mumbo-jumbo cult religions that got popular in the 70s. Focus on misunderstood Native American imagery, random misused scientific terms, celestial frequencies. Side note, the astrophysics nerd in me can't help but correct a misconception. The first part of the back cover seems like it refers to the fact that, due to the fact that light takes time to arrive to Earth, some stars we see are already dead, but we can't tell due to the delay. However, even short-lived stars have million-year lifespans, and some of the oldest light we get are only about 100 years old. So, either the authors of SCP-1425 are slightly uneducated, or they're talking about other anomalous weirdness. Either works. When a subject reads the full text of SCP-1425, the book exerts a mild reality warping effect influenced by the subject's desires, which in turn are influenced by SCP-1425. See below. When a sufficiently large number of subjects are exposed to this effect, further complications arise in terms of mental health and the integrity of space-time. Here's the danger. Reading it gives you superpowers, sort of, but it also damages you mentally and causes general wear and tear of the fabric of space-time. We take a break from this to get some other miscellaneous facts about the book, but based on weird things like tuning into star frequencies and not actually doing anything productive, and that it contains a lot of mimetic cues. Mimetic things are specific words and phrases that can abnormally alter your brain far more than actual memories. Most of these serve to make people concentrate on the same thing at the same time and homogenize their personalities. It also causes something called OhMyItsEli syndrome. SCP-1425 is believed to have been written and published by operatives of the Fifth Church, an influential cult whose membership consists largely of celebrities, including actors, musicians, authors, television hosts, and other personalities. Here we get a little hint that the Fifth Church isn't based on any weird New Age cult, but one in particular, Scientology. For those unfamiliar, Scientology is based on the works of L. Ron Hubbard, who hated psychologists and wrote some bad sci-fi. The religion is as weird as that makes it sound, and it got really popular in Hollywood with a lot of actors. I'll be bringing up the parallels throughout this article. These connections were utilized by the Fifthist Fellowship in the form of celebrity endorsements and widespread media coverage used to make SCP-1425 quickly and exceptionally popular. Due to these measures, as well as substantial word-of-mouth advertising, Star Signals became a national bestseller within 2 weeks of publication, and held this position until the book was virtually purged from public knowledge by the SCP Foundation, using Protocol Ophiuchus. So, this is the main story of SCP-1425. It was released. These prominent celebrities advertised it, it got popular, and when the Foundation realized its effects, its existence was erased. The next section deals with excerpts. I'm going to be mostly skipping over this section as there's not much to be learned from each individual section, but to summarize, it shows the general language the Fifthists use. The structure is both similar to self-help books and religious preaching, but there's a generous helping of dream logic thrown on top. You get sentences that start normally but bring in strange concepts that don't have any context. For example,
you can feel it inside you right now. A heavy emptiness in the middle of your chest. It's a reflection of the one in your existence, like particles in quantum entanglement.
Besides learning about what Fifthists sound like, A lot of recurring Fifthist imagery is introduced. Now, most of these are explored in later SCPs, so I'm not going to explain them all, but a quick list. Stars and star signals. Fifthists like to focus on energy emanating from the stars and focusing on space. The number 5. This number appears a lot, often counterpointed with other numbers. Submission to the flow. Fifthists don't like individuality or personal will. Smoke. Fifthists either follow it or emit it from themselves. Archons. Higher beings, seen with fear and or awe. Although it's bad if you hate them, because it draws attention to yourself, possibly a representation of SCP-1425. It is also important to note that the dream logic and the mimetic triggers become far more common as the book progresses, eventually degrading into the Fifthist language, a consonant-heavy speech that signifies the speaker is heavily affected by massive mimetics. Then we get to the main meat of the article, the report of the emergence of SCP-1425. So after it's released on Day 1, Day 8, a celebrity promotion of the book gets really controversial after the host swears, presumably being affected by the mimetics as there was no real prompt or any reason to say, "Fuck, it's finding holes." Similarly to Fifthism, Scientology first entered the public eye through celebrity mentions, and not exactly in a planned way. Those around may remember 2008 with Tom Cruise's video leaked to the internet. In what was supposed to be an internal training video, he talks about some of the more crazy and obscure aspects of Scientologist beliefs. Although the organization was infamously known before this incident, it sparked interest again and led to the Scientology Anonymous War of 2008, but that's another story. Anyway, we get a description of the OhMyItsEli syndrome mentioned earlier. On Day 12, a family in OhMyItsEli start talking in the dream logic speech and the Fifthist speech, and also cutting up bystanders. Basically, it's what happens when readers of SCP-1425 are overcome by the massive amount of mimetics. This points the Foundation at 1425 as a possible SCP, so they begin studying it on Day 13. They figure out its anomalous properties and realize that based on its strict reading regimen, and using the Day 8 popularity boost as a starting point, there will be a spike in OhMyItsEli sufferers on Day 19. Day 14, the Foundation kicks into high gear, bringing on additional agencies to suppress information and burn as many 1425s as possible. Further action redacted is the first hint that the Foundation is really pulling the big guns beyond your security clearance. Meanwhile, celebrities keep going insane. Some politicians talk about machine elves. The usual. By Day 17, the Foundation is moderately getting a handle on things. The majority of OhMyItsEli sufferers have been treated. Class B amnestics work well with this as they make you forget. It appears that most of what remains are those who got the book slightly earlier on, so they're more likely to avoid having their copy of SCP-1425 get taken away. In response, the Foundation begins to use force where Fifthism has taken hold to get rid of the books and cure members. Some of the really weird effects start showing on prominent public figures, as the hosts of American Idol start emitting smoke from their mouths for nearly the entirety of the episode. Day 19, as predicted, there are a lot of affected people wandering the streets trying to follow smoke. An interesting interview takes place where the subject appears not to be there, and the interviewer is dragged off screen at the end. Both are never found. SCP-2456 suggests that they were erased from memory and public perception, but as it's part of another SCP, I won't be explaining it here. After that, the Foundation does some general cleanup as symptoms die down. They also start planning to take out the Fifth Church. Then we get the director note, which does a lot of my job for me by describing what lies between the line. He talks about how this was one of the biggest and most dangerous containment breaches in Foundation's history, and they got lucky. One thing mentioned is that how the Foundation was not as effective in Britain in getting rid of SCP-1425. As Day 20, the massive sufferers pushed on reality hard enough to turn London into the physical manifestation of the dream logic, or rather, nightmare logic. The reason for the cleanup failure is another nod towards Scientology: infiltration. In 1978, Scientology got into really hot water after the FBI uncovered their Operation Snow White, where they systematically infiltrated the US government. Scientology used it for tax evasion. Fifthists used it to stop the Foundation from culling their ranks. Overall, though, the director tells that the only reason why it wasn't a complete failure was because the Fifth Church was actually working to stop SCP-1425 from spreading. After a point, it seems that the members began to worry that all the reality restructuring was giving them a negative image, so they used the control they had to stop FXTs from discussing the book in reviews and such. Scientology had a similar phase back in 2008 when Tom Cruise's video was leaked. Their modus operandi was to initially draw in people through more sensible mantras, like solve your problems by separating them into smaller segments. Over time, then, they would introduce some of their more radical ideas. However, by having such a public figure talk about some of the more late-stage indoctrination material, it gave them a very bad image. Scientology's censorship operation was less successful than Fifthist's, as the Streisand effect made it so their attempts to take down the video earned them more flack. I just love how close this parallels. Late-stage material gets released, video reality warping. Organization would rather their face to the uninitiated be the more mild intro stuff, and so they try to take it down. Anyway, the director tells that in order to get the situation under control, they had to utilize an SCP object with very negative consequences. The director assures us that this was better than the alternative of widespread Fifthist conversion. The log ends with a message to any potential remaining Fifthist infiltrators. A star, A star. Although it's never explained, context makes me think there's some sort of mimetic trigger designed only to work against those in the Fifth Church. Or the director is a member of the Fifth Church. Who knows? So to summarize this summary of SCP-1425, it's a book that allows you to bend reality, but it also makes you insane. It was published by a representation of Scientology where all the crazy things they believe is made real. Since public figures are disproportionately affected due to this group, the Foundation does everything they can to wipe an entire month's worth of cultural memories. Anyway, that's SCP-1425, the one that started the whole group of interest. Again, I would like to thank Reddit user Rock D House for this explanation.
I like he went in that detail that he's like, basically it's just a book that Scientologists use that makes you crazy. And what do you say? It makes you crazy. It bends reality. Okay. It makes you crazy, and then the Scientologists used it to make their beliefs real. But then it made people crazy. It made them crazy. So then the Foundation came and shut that shit down forcibly. Which is, I mean, that makes sense because religions, especially like new religions, you would think they would do that. It was like, hey, we got a book here that literally makes the things that we believe in real. Even old religions. Like, you look at, let's just say Christianity, it's like, hey, there's no real evidence, obviously, that the whole flood, Noah, and all this stuff existed. You know, they didn't have two of each animal and stuff like that. Because as we know how, reproduction works, if you just have a male and a female of a species and that's it, you will have a lot of inbred in that species, and that can negatively affect that species, obviously. So, I mean, it's the same thing with Adam and Eve and all stuff like that. But just think you had a book that could take what you have and make it real, where, yeah, that existed and it didn't have any negative effects on humanity or on animals or like the flood. And then you read like, oh, the flood affected the whole world. But then at the time when that was written, people didn't know about, the whole rest of the world. They only knew about where they were at. So there's like, oh, it only affected there, so it flooded there. They're like, what is this? God of War? It's like Kratos calls the apocalypse, but it only affects people who believe in the Greek pantheon of gods. It's like everything else is fine out here. That didn't affect anything. The oceans rise and all this stuff. The sun blacked out, but it's only in this part of the world. Like no one else was affected by it. But I think a lot of people would probably do that. Like just take a book. I mean, especially you think about people who have a religion and they want to make they doing it on a grander scale. But it's like some regular person say, hey, like they said it here, like, hey, if you do the ritual correctly and you want to win the lottery, and like a week later, you win the lottery. It just keep it small. It's almost like a genie, almost. Because at first I was thinking, oh, it's gonna be some like negative effects. Like it's gonna grant what you want, but everything that comes about from it's gonna be negative. Like you win the lottery, you gonna get like audited or some shit because of it. You gonna have a bunch of old acquaintances or family or friends come around you asking you for money and stuff like that, or it's gonna chip at you until you have nothing. And now you have mental health more. If you had mental health issues already, now they are worse, or you have new mental health issues, and now everyone's kind of gotten what they wanted and they moved on from you, and then now the IRS is looking at you, audited you, and like, oh yeah, you owe money before, and if you don't pay it, you gonna go to jail. It's like, or some just random shit just comes in like, oh, you accused of fraud or some shit. It's like that. It's like Wishmaster was a wish, but everything negative that can happen happens because of that wish. Oh, you find a love, you want the love of your life to come. Yeah, you find her, but she is so clingy that if you even say hi to another woman, she will kill that woman. And then she gets so clingy that she's like, well, the only way we can be together or stay together is for me to kill you and then kill myself. It's like, what was the other thing? It was in that movie. She's a woman who, I think she wished to be beautiful forever or something like that, and he turned out like a statue or some shit. I was like stop wishing. And he always looked crazy. He was always looking like, I forget the actor's name. He was always just like, with kind of like a smirk on his face, or just a straight up grin. He's always got to look it up like this. And like, why would you, if somebody come to you talking about, oh yeah, I grant you a wish, anything you want, and then they talk like, anything you want, I grant you a wish, and then they're looking like this. I'm like, no, and get the fuck away from me before I call the police. But this is an interesting story. As far as basically he talked about what the book was, and then, of course, if you give humans a book like that will literally make the things you want real, of course we're going to use it selfishly. Who wouldn't? I mean, you have some people like, I want world peace or something like that. I mean, first we're going to do something to make sure that it works. We're going to do something selfish. Like, I want to win the lottery. I want to win the $1 billion lottery. And then we're like, okay, well, now I wish for, well, I guess not really a wish, but you want world peace, or you want enough resources where people can be fed or something like that, or people, like politicians, put the well-being of their citizens before themselves. You know, stuff like that. You like, it's like you think that would happen, or maybe because I don't know, I would feel like that the book would end up in somebody's hands that wouldn't think that way. It's like the Death Note. Like it ended up in the worst person's hands that it possibly could. I haven't seen all of Death Note, but I've seen up to the point where this was years ago. I think when that first came out. Up to the point where I was a Light met L. I always get their names, but I'm thinking the detective name was Light, but I think the other one, the L, and then the antagonist name was Light. But like, he got the book, and he was just like, he was already like a genius who thought like everyone else was beneath him, and he was a narcissist, and he just started, I'm just gonna start killing people, like, because I am God now. And then he started killing people, after he killed pretty much all the prisoners, anybody who's in jail for a crime that he found out, then he just killed them all. And then he's like, okay, well now, anybody that just don't like. And I don't want to do any spoilers if you haven't watched this, so I ain't gonna go in too much detail, but I mean, that's pretty much in the trailers for that show. It's like what he does. So I mean, they get out of the way. They don't go in, like, there's other things in it that make it really good. I might do a reaction to that. I still need to finish. I got so much stuff. Finish editing. Not even reacting to, but just the editing. But my dog shoulder started hurting. I was having some procrastination and work things because I need some more money, so I start working long hours. But then I get back, I'm just like, I don't feel like doing nothing. And then I cut my hair. I hate it. I was about to cut it all off. I'm about to just cut all my hair off. It's like, cause I was like, I hate it. Then I combed it. I was like, it don't look horrible, but it don't look great either. But I'm not a barber, so. But then I was like, man, I just cut it all off. Like, I think I used just buzz cut it. I was like, it looked fine, and also I didn't feel like it. But yeah, that was good. Anyway, hope you enjoyed my reaction. And if you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.